Welcome to 2 cents short of a dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz. I'm Rue. Today in the boxing scene, what I want to talk about is Tszyu, a guy who I feel like, no lie, I mean, no disrespect, but I don't want to say he's been carrying boxing this year, but he's been a very consistent face in boxing this year, and I think he deserves his just dues. But he put out his hit list after his victories that he's had so far this year. So he wants to fight Jermell Charlo, Terrence Crawford, and then finally Canelo Alvarez. So just what do you think about Tszyu? You think he's the real deal? Do you like the names that he's looking to fight?
Yeah, I would say he's definitely shaping up to be the real deal. Although the people that he put on his hit list, I don't see him beating any of those fighters. And it's funny that he does mention Canelo, and it's kind of giving me it's giving me some clout vibes only because you're only mentioning Canelo because Jermell went up to fight Canelo, and then also Crawford mentioned Canelo, and then now you feel the need to add Canelo to your hit list. Is kind of weird to me. I guess he's trying to set up a stage where if he potentially gets, Jermell fight, overthrow Jermell, he can potentially get a Canelo fight, that money fight, right? He's trying to follow the same footsteps. And it's funny because he's also saying he criticized Jermell to a degree as a backhanded compliment, like, go and get your money. He's doing it as money fight. I mean, it's a good thing, but he has obligations and he should be fighting, in conquering his division first, right? So, but I guess in his case, he's looking to beat Jermell first and then look to kind of face off against Canelo after Crawford. So
like he's looking at Canelo like the final boss.
Yes. So I get that part. So I'll take that last part back. But the likelihood of him even getting the Canelo fight is extremely unlikely. I think he needs to first worry about what's likely, and that's Jermell. And then, if anything, Crawford, right? Because he might not even get the Crawford fight, real talk.
He'd have to run through those two guys for people to even mention fight in Canelo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what's the likelihood of that? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Like it's a good hit list. I'll tell you that. Like, it's one of those hit lists that, like, if he was to actually make it through to the final boss, it would be legendary, right? Like, he can literally make history. But the likelihood sounds better on paper than it is in actual reality. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I respect it because he's trying to fight competition. You know what I'm saying? I guess the most shocking thing about it is that people still, but I guess because, in my opinion, I do still think Canelo's the face of boxing. I think he's the guy that can do numbers with anybody. You know what I'm saying? So I'm about to say, I think it's kind of shocking that people still look at Canelo as like the final boss. But, indeed, it is still the payday, as Canelo would say. You know what I'm saying? But Tszyu is the real deal. But I guess I kind of agree with you. I'm not sure he would beat any of those guys, but you got to respect him. I think he's at least asserted himself as the number 2 guy at that division. In past where people could have argued maybe names like Fundora, maybe one time even a Lubin. You know what I'm saying? I think he's definitely established himself as, okay, I'm the number 2 guy, and I should be taking on Jermell for all the belts to see who's really the guy. And one thing about Zudo, even though, like, because this guy lost, he's not gonna be in the talks though. But you know what I think would be an interesting fight? Tszyu versus Brian Castano. Because that activity will give people problems. But Tszyu, a guy who doesn't really throw a lot of jabs, I think him versus Jermell, I think the lack of activity is gonna allow Jermell to be comfortable, even though Tszyu hits hard and he comes with that right hand, and he comes with bad intentions. But I think the lack of activity will allow Jermell to kind of, be comfortable, pick his spots, So I still want to see the fight. I would say let's get the fight next, since it looks like the Crawford and Spence rematch is pushed out a bit. So maybe, Charlo and Tszyu could like get one in a similar time frame, and maybe depending on the outcomes, maybe we could see Crawford Charlo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's definitely a respectable hit list. I think the Canelo thing is not only a payday, but him trying to show up Jermell saying, I could do better against this guy than you can. But I think a lot of guys think that until they get in there and they realize just what Jermell realized. Like, man, the power is real. The strength is serious. This guy's stalking me down. The way Tszyu walks guys down, that's what Canelo's going to do to him.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then if he tries to even butt heads, he's gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
He's gonna get stopped, and he's gonna lose a part of himself in that fight. And it's funny too, because even Jamal, during the all access, he was on phone with FaceTime with Errol Spence,
Mhm.
and he's like, I ain't gonna lie, that little bit was strong, like
Yeah, he said
referring to
that.
Canelo, like because
Yeah.
he realized, like, dang, like he's smaller than me, but he's strong for his weight class, and that's what we discussed too, right? When
Yeah.
we made those predictions, where people keep saying, oh, no, Jamal, he's a big guy. Nah, it's different when you're fighting at a weight class. Like when you're fighting
Yeah.
at that weight class, that person's acclimated at that weight class. When you're coming up, even though you naturally walk around, is the difference between walk around weight and fighting weight.
Yeah.
Complete difference, and he realized that.
Yeah.
So
And then Canelo's used to putting guys out at that weight class, where Jamel's never even hit a guy at that weight class. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Let alone
So
receiving punches at that weight
yeah.
class.
And I mean, everybody would say, when you're not in a fight, everybody can say, "Oh no, you didn't do this. I would go out on my shield." But I'm just saying, like when you get in there and then you realize quickly, I'm in survival mode. You know that could happen to Tszyu as well. That could happen to a lot of guys versus Canelo. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think people take the B-Vol thing out of context. They think anybody could just get in. A lot of people just think, "Oh yeah, I could just get in there and have that success against Canelo." That's not going to happen.